Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another interesting episode of the Candy Talk. I'm glad that you're here with us. Of course, I'm joined by Professor Herman Manyora. Prof, how are you?
Good.
So far, so good. The country is still, we are at that particular stage where we're not seeing anything good. Of course, the other side, where I had at the time the deputy president maintain his stance and say, well and good, there is no room for dialogue. In fact, the only thing that we can actually argue about is how Raila is retiring from politics and such kind of utterances from the deputy president. And then the former prime minister is also saying that the demos are still on Monday, we are still expecting such. What do you make of these kind of sentiments? Because right now, there's actually a whole week where people have already been demonstrated, and yet there is nothing to actually show us that we are headed somewhere as a country.
Please allow me to repeat, this country is too good to go down. Even as we have this hardline stand, the obstinance and all this kind of chest thumping, do you know something is happening in this country? I've been moving around today, and the country is, Nairobi is in a state of, I mean, people don't seem to have psyche for anything. It's like the demos are still on. I mean, in terms of this, people don't have the psyche. Hakuna vibe. People are just idling. This little activity going on in Nairobi. This must tell Gachagua, Raila, Ruto, and the rest of these people, this thing is getting out of control. I've just been moving around, and you find the activities you would expect in many of these places, including supermarkets and everywhere. People don't seem to have the psyche for anything. Yeah. It's like people are nursing some kind of hangover. Including children who didn't go to school yesterday and today, they're not even going to some of them. Including people who ate tear gas. People are just idling. There's no vibe in the country, especially in Nairobi. We must get out of this. Yes.
To what extent can we condone such kind of things taking place in the country? Because I've tried listening to some of our leaders talk and speak. Right now, I actually try to avoid even going to Twitter, because definitely you look at the kind of stuff that our leaders post, then you're like, really? What is this that is happening in this country? Do we even have a country here? But then the demos are still on. Talk to me about actually what happened yesterday with relation to all this, because I thought that after we saw the demos on Thursday, then perhaps the leaders could somehow think twice and decide to engage in a meaningful dialogue that will actually give us a direction as a country. You saw what took place yesterday, that kind of brutality that was witnessed. And of course, the police are said to have used excessive force, and in some instances, or rather in certain areas, the police allowed people to actually just walk around. For instance, in Madare, where those women came on board and talked to them, and of course, they let them move around. And of course, by the time that the police decided to retreat, even the demonstrators retreated. But then that kind of brutality that we witnessed, the police, or rather, if I don't know whether it's the police or not, but that video, you saw it cycling all over the media.
Two things about violence. Number one, violence begets violence. Once you start violence, there's no end to violence. And it is unidirectional. Multi-directional. The second thing about violence, I've said this before, from Martin Luther King Jr., we learned that violence is bad because it brutalizes one party just as it terrorizes the other party. You know, the person you brutalize lives in terror and in bitterness. And you become brutal. The moment you do certain things, you mete out violence to certain levels against fellow human beings. The human in you begins to recede until it disappears. You become an animal. So you are ruled with you are a brutal, and the other fellow is being terrorized and lives with the bitterness. How can the two of you ever stay together? You can never live together. So to the extent that those perpetuating violence from either side have no control of staying in this country alone, then what they are doing is futile. If you mete out violence to a fellow Kenyan and you have no way of removing them from Kenya, then you will have to live with them. Look, and I've said this repeatedly, that's why history is important. You win today, or so you think, but your brutality will live long after you. Just like Shakespeare said, the good that men do is interred with their bones. The evil is all lives after them. Long after you have gone. The enmity you create today between persons will outlive you. You leave your children and your grandchildren and your community to deal with the other community because of what you are doing today. So to the extent that nobody has the power to clear everybody from this country and live in this country alone, we must always know whatever we do, at the end of the day, we shall live together in this country. And if we are going to exist together, like Martin Luther King Jr. tells us, you cannot live together if one person is brutal, brutality reigns in him, he's been dehumanized, he's become an animal, and the other one is bitter. You may not do anything today, but your children will go for each other. So are you being fair to your children? You are not being fair to your children. You want to create situations that will make them go for each other's next. So I think force is not good, because violence begets violence, and at the same time it creates two groups of people. One is bitter, the other one has been made an animal. And those two cannot stay together. But more critically, you know me, I give free advice. If I was being paid, I would be a very rich man. I give free advice, sometimes laughingly. But it's very serious advice. I advise the intelligence of this country, and I advise the president, and I advise the police to look at things. If they have been looking at things and been listening to me, they can see some of the things I was saying. They can begin to see there's just so much you can do using force. There's just so much beyond which your force will not be useful to you. If they haven't seen that, they have some deficiency somewhere, either in the training, observation capacity, or something. If you are not deficient as a police commander, as the intelligence of this country, from where you sit, you must begin to see cracks. You must begin to see that force is not going to work in another 2 weeks if these demonstrations continue. You must also begin to see, and I will not say more than this, that the weakest link in this game is the police. And allow me not to say more than that. But those who are intelligent, who work in the intelligence and in the command of the police, should understand what I'm trying to say without saying it. That is going to be the weakest link on their side.
Definitely. Just on that, Prof, what is your honest assessment of how the police have actually handled this entire demonstration?
You know, when you talk of the police, you can do so collectively. You can say the police, meaning the entire police force. Nowadays, you call it service. In other words, you can say all policemen are bad. That will be wrong. These policemen are Kenyans. When people are talking about hungry, they are also hungry. When they put down that helmet and the baton and the tear gas canister, they go home to an empty house without food. So you cannot say police are bad. They know these things are also applying to them. You know, they also have parents at home who are hungry. They know all these things.
They also have children.
So you cannot say the police are bad.
And that is why I'm just looking.
But you can look at the people in the command. And even them, they also listen to other people, the politicians. So there's the politician who commands the command, and the command who commands the police. Each of these people must re-examine their role in the whole thing. That policeman, there are some who you can see as individuals, as a human being, even when you are on duty. Why would you do what we saw that policeman doing, if indeed he's a policeman? The boys in that vehicle, these are your brothers. These are young people, media. How can you do that to them? I don't think that's duty. That's not duty. So even among the police servicemen themselves, There is the human part of you that must determine and help you see how to navigate through situations. Because even if you are running away from stones from civilians, do you take a rungu and hit a boy who crosses your path? Well, granted you have been provoked. A stone has been thrown at you as policemen, and you are perhaps even running for dear life. Do you use your baton against a small girl you meet? That's the decision you have to make as a human being. But overall, the big blame would go to the command. Although they are taking orders, they must also know there must be a cleverer way of doing it than even when you receive command. I know in some instances as a commander you may not have even the capacity. The political ecosystem in which you exist may not allow you to question your bosses. But would the commands include committing certain atrocities? I doubt. I don't think the people who give you orders as a commander of the police will tell you to go and lobby tear gas directed at the vehicle being used by Raila Odinga. I don't think so. No. I don't think even as an sent police officer you can try to do certain things to Raila Odinga, because tomorrow you will not have a country, even you yourself. Yeah. There are many countries in which in a flash of a second that the police are just like everybody else. Yeah. Because things have gone south.
So my question is this: who then holds the responsibility here, or if anything happens, who then should be held responsible? Because definitely, one, look at the position of the government. The government is saying these demonstrations are illegal, and that actually informs the kind of measures that we are seeing the police taking here. Do you just think that the police are just taking orders from above, just as you've said? And so I wonder what is the implication of all this? And by the way, tell me, before we go to the implications of those orders received from above, one, was the Interior CS, Professor Kithure Kindiki, in order to term the demonstrations illegal per se?
Nobody can pronounce themselves on the illegality or otherwise of demonstrations. They are guaranteed for in the Constitution, and there's a reason why Kenyans put there. It is through our history. We knew if you were to ask anybody for the right to picket, you would never picket. If you were to ask people for the right to demonstrate, you would never get it. We have a history behind us, and we know it. That's why, for example, all strikes are declared illegal. Whenever it is taken to court, illegal. That is they are basing themselves on an act that predates the Constitution. Article 37 is not negotiable. It does not bestow upon anybody the power to grant people the right to demonstrate, to picket, to go on strike, to demonstrate. Nothing. There is no individual given that power in the Democratic Republic of Kenya. Nobody. Not the police, not the president, not the opposition. Nobody has. That Article 37 is self-executing. And those who are saying subsequent legislation are also wrong. Because if you read the Constitution properly, wherever a provision in the Constitution requires an enabling legislation, they say so. So this was left the way it is. And all this enabling legislation about public order, they are all unconstitutional. Yeah, all of them are unconstitutional. So leave alone even what Kindiki wants to introduce to make it worse. Even what there is today is completely unconstitutional. Even when you say the notice must be between 3 and 14 days, there are certain things that you must react to immediately. In exercise of that Article 37, things could happen that cannot wait for 3 days for you to give notice. Yeah.
How then do we balance?
So all those legislation, all those regulations, be they police standing orders or acts of parliament, that purport to give life to Article 37, are in my view, all of them are unconstitutional. Because even the 3 days, some things could require immediate action. If we see somebody doing something bad, we are citizens. We see somebody defiling a child, we arrest him. citizen arrest, we take him to the police, and 1 hour later the man is with us, and we don't want to lynch him. We can demonstrate immediately against the police and ask them, how can you release a person who has defiled a child in broad daylight? We have brought him here, and you have released him. So we will demonstrate to the police, go to the county commissioner, whatever they call them, and make our voices heard that the police are abetting such a serious crime. We cannot wait for 3 days. You see what I'm saying? So Article 36, 37 is self-executing. It does not require any legislation. What is required of the police, and that's how the notice came up, is that you may need to have clearance in terms of clearing the place you want to move. The police may even redirect traffic to allow the procession to move. Because it's supposed to be done in a civil, orderly manner by unarmed citizens. Peaceful, unarmed citizens. Airing their grievances through these demonstrations. Okay, or picketing. So the police may need even to block traffic, police vehicles, and they redirect because of you. They may also, in apprehension, being apprehensive that some people may take advantage of these demonstrators to loot, as it happens. So the police may also need to cover certain properties along the path, along the way of the demonstrators, so that criminal elements do not take advantage of these demonstrations to loot people's property. That's how it's supposed to be in a civilized country. Why are we interpreting simple things to mean it gives anybody the power to grant? No, there's nobody given that power, not by the Constitution. They can have the power from their own thinking, but not from the Constitution. So Kindiki is out of order.
So who bears the greatest burden here in case anything goes wrong?
All of us as
should be
Kenyans.
held responsible.
All of us as Kenyans. This is about the Constitution. This is about democracy. And you cannot say there is no democratic country in the world that leaves everything to the government. No country in the world. The citizens must be awake or awoke, as you people say. Yeah. The citizens, democracy is as good as the vigilance from the citizens of that country. Yeah. You cannot say, now we blame the government, we blame Raila. No. All of us as citizens must always keep vigil. We must always be awake. We must always question. We must always support our government and clap for it when it is doing bad. When the government is doing wrong, when the government is applying like excessive force, all of us, irrespective of where we come from, must speak up. And everybody with an opportunity to speak up, they must speak up. I expect the clergy, I expect the Muslims today in the mosques, I expect the Christians on Sunday to create time to sanction the police and government and Raila Odinga and tell them this country will go down because of you. Yes, we must all speak up. I expect even school principals, while addressing assemblies, to tell the children, when you have time to talk to your fathers and mothers at home, tell them this country is too good to go down because they are destroying your future.
Okay.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying?
Yes, I get.
So you cannot blame anybody.
Okay.
It's all of us to make sure this country remains there for our children. Yeah.
Another thing that has raised a lot of concern is that the other day, after keeping silent for a while, the Interior CS came up and purported to be giving some instructions, or whatever he calls policing instructions, to the Inspector General of Police on how to manage all these. And a number of Kenyans are asking, is it your mandate to be giving directions to the IG to do some of these things?
They bastardize the law, the constitutional provision on matters of security. The police service was supposed to be an independent unit. Arising of what we saw in 2007 and 2008, we said we have almost destroyed our country. We must make sure never again will we get close to destroying our country. So one of the reasons why the country was almost destroyed is the police were receiving orders from one side. Okay? So we said no. One way of saving ourselves from such a mess is to ensure we have a police service that is independent. Then, from nowhere, and these people who are now making noise instead of these vocal boys around here, they are the ones who are passing those laws and giving the president the power to appoint the IG contrary to the constitution. And now here we are. The police is supposed to be independent. There is nothing they should be getting from Kindiki. Zero. And I was very happy the president was saying during the campaign, and he has repeated after becoming president, that he is enabling the police to be independent. Money does not give independence. Independence is independence. The police, giving them money is not enough. They need to be independent to make operational decisions themselves.
So financial
operational decisions cannot come from Kindiki. But of course, there is the constitution to guide the police. The police will not be guided by Kindiki's office. But the constitution is also there. There is National Security Council. There are organs to which the police have membership. And therefore, when the Inspector General of Police is acting, he cannot also be said to be acting unilaterally. He will have come from the National Security Council, whatever it is called, as a member. So if there are issues of national concern, they will have been raised there and addressed there. You know, meaning but you cannot come from Arambe House as a minister and say, I am giving, you already know it is wrong. You know, I'm a communication person. You already know it is wrong. And that's why you are trying to massage it using a name, policy, direct. Which policy? You already know it's wrong. By the time Kindiki says policy, directions, he knows what he's doing is wrong. He went to school. Highly educated. He knows. He knows what he's doing is wrong. So he's trying to massage it by using the word policy direction. There's nothing like that. Whatever direction they are, the IG will know the role of the police. He was interviewed and found befit. If he was interviewed, I don't know. He's supposed to know the role of an Inspector General of Police. It is provided for in the Constitution. He knows the role of the police service. He's a member of those organs that generate the thinking and the policy that addresses the issues happening in the country, the state of the nation. Like now, what we are going through. These matters will have to be handled at the Security Council or something level. So IG, when he comes, he's not acting unilaterally. Yeah.
And you're saying financial autonomy is not enough?
No, it's not. That is just a smokescreen. That is just to cover.
So how are we going to get out of this kind of stuff? Because remember, even the previous IG and the DCI boss, some of these bodies that we as a nation say that are actually independent, but these people work at the mercies of the president. You never know at any point you may be recalled and you may be sacked. And I don't know, does it mean that they also now have to play to the tune of the executive, or did we go? Where did we go wrong as a country?
It is our history. I've written about it. What messes this country is a culture of subservience, fear and subservience. Kenyans, through their colonial history, were brought up to fear authority, not to respect authority. So we fear authority. It was a white man. Instinctively, even an educated man, when they meet a white man, you can see the instinctive reaction. When buses used to be full, when you used to stand na shika chuma, mzungu angeingia ungeona watu 20 wamesimama instinctively. So that mzungu was now replaced by a black man. And our fear towards authority and subserviency is what is killing this country. A school principal will mess a school until it goes down. One man, the school has 40 teachers, all of them graduates and above. But they can never talk. When the principal's vehicle enters the gate, everybody is shaking, including highly educated teachers. A CEO of an organization, a government organization, will destroy the parastatal, completely run it down, sell all assets, whatever it is doing. Nobody will raise a finger. So the fear of authority is what is killing this country. I've written about it. Yeah? The fear of authority, not the respect. So you cannot blame the police. It's a national disease where Those in power are first of all kings. You come from the university, the vice chancellor is a king, almost a god. You see, he's not first among equals. The professors cannot talk to the vice chancellor. He's a god. Now you take it up. Him now, if the minister in charge talks, you can't know this is a professor. He'll be shaking when a minister is talking, even if the minister is illiterate. In turn, the minister, when the president talks, he can even wait himself. That is the disease in this country. And unless we deal with it, so that we learn to respect institutions more than individuals, and we learn to respect authority and not fear authority. Before we get there, we shall continue in this manner. Principals will continue to destroy schools with teachers they are more qualified than the principal, shaking when he talks. He squanders everything, and people they are just shaking. It is our history, and I've said before, wakati mzungu alikuja hapa, you could not leave Mombasa, you could not come on land before two things. They had to check you. There was free land for white men in Kenya, especially those who had fought in the wars, the First World War. There was free land for them even before that under Sir Charles Eliot. But to avoid what they had seen in South Africa, you had to demonstrate you had some little money, so that you are not a pauper, is what they use for it. you are not poor. Eh? Secondly, they had to look at you, no physical deformity. Your eyes are there, everything, you are not lame. You are. So Mzungu was supposed to be like a god. And that is haunting us up to today. Yes. So don't ask me why people cannot question authority. They can't, because it's a national disease.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it from Professor Herman Manyora. We're still on the ground here looking at what is taking place in the country, but we do not want to witness actually what we've witnessed this week in regards to police brutality. This is what happened to the members of the Fourth Estate. We do not want to see such kind of stuff. But what will it really take for us to get the right direction as a country? We're waiting to see, and we hope that sobriety will actually reign in this country, that our leaders will find it well to have a conversation so that we can actually solve this entire crisis, and then our country gets back on the right track. Till we have this conversation again, have yourself a very lovely day. My name is Evan Sokinyi. Thank you for watching.